Imagine tripling your chances of agreement with just one simple change in your communication technique based on psychology, human behaviors, and emotional intelligence. It's the power of a no-orientated question. By the end, you'll understand and be able to double, triple, or even quadruple the frequency of influencing people. We'll be exploring this technique in 3 chapters. 1. Understanding no calibrated questions. 2. The psychology of why it works. 3. A complete guide on how to do it and what English phrases to use. Now let's dive into the world of the no calibrated question. Chapter 1. Understanding the no-orientated question. What if I told you no could be your new yes? That's right, turning a negative into a positive was made famous by Chris Voss, who was a former FBI hostage negotiator and the writer of one of the most important books ever written on negotiation called Never Split the Difference. Chris Voss turned his attention to the business world and developed this technique based on real-life high-stakes scenarios. The core of his strategy is to ask questions where the response is likely to be a no. We want to make the no a yes. So we frame the question where, when the answer is no, it actually means yes. Counterintuitive, you say? Well, that's where the magic lies. I once worked as a consultant for a commercial property sales company. They paid well, but they always had difficulty to get the top performers from other companies to have a conversation to discuss how much more they could earn. Their approach was to call them on the phone and immediately ask, "Are you happy with your current earnings?" This question invites a yes and shuts down further discussion, but I suggested asking, "Would you be against earning more money this year than you did last year?" This invites a no, opening the door to further conversation about potential earnings at the new company. This very small and simple change had significant results. Previously, only 20% of those high performers would continue the conversation after asking, "Are you happy with your current earnings?" But when we changed it to the no-orientated question, "Would you be against earning more money this year than you did last year?" that increased to 65%, which meant that the company more than tripled the number of high performers that joined the company, which transforms as millions in revenue per year. Millions. Chapter 2. The psychology behind no-orientated questions. We've already learned that this technique is about asking questions that elicit a no response. But why is this so effective? The answer lies in our deep-seated human need for autonomy. We all crave the ability to make our own decisions, to have control over our own lives. And when we're asked a question that has a no answer, it feeds into this need. It's a subtle way of saying, "Hey, you're in charge here, you have the power to say no." And that feels good. It makes us more inclined to engage, to listen, and ultimately to agree. Why does saying yes make us so anxious? Chris Voss, the mastermind behind this technique, identified 3 types of yes: confirmation, commitment, and counterfeit. Confirmation yes is just an acknowledgement, while commitment yes is agreeing to a future action. The counterfeit yes, though, is the tricky one. It's when someone says yes but has no intention of following through. It's a polite way to end the conversation. When we're asked a question that requires a yes answer, we're immediately on guard. What are the consequences of me saying yes? What are we committing to? But when we're asked a no question, that pressure dissipates. We feel safe, secure, and more open to discussion. And here's the real kicker. A no question not only makes us feel good when we frame the question like, "Would it be difficult for you to help me?" I am being empathetic. I am communicating that I know it is a lot, but can you do this for me? They feel like this small thing helps me so much. People get a boost of feel-good brain chemicals. Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, these are all released when we help others. And who doesn't want to feel good? Imagine you working in a factory and your boss wants you to work late. If your boss says, "Can you work late?" your immediate reaction is, "How can I avoid this?" But if your boss asks, "Would it be impossible for you to work late?" then they feel a sense of duty. They feel like my team needs me. How do I know this? When I was hired as a consultant for a biscuit factory, the client was actually an old school friend called Robbie. Robbie said he always had difficulty getting his workers to do work extra hours. He said normally only about 10% would do it, which led to him needing more workers and increased the costs significantly. I was feeling playful, so I said to him, "Let's make a bet. If I can triple the number of people to work late tonight, then he owes me a pint of Guinness. Old Rob agreed. I told him what to say, and almost 40% of the workers agreed to work late. The results were so good he didn't even have to ask the entire factory to work later. By the time he asked half the factory, he had enough workers working late that me and my old friend Rob could go for a nice big black pint of Guinness. Chapter 3. Step-by-step guide. Ready to start using no calibrated questions? Here's a step-by-step guide. First off, you need to understand the key phrases that will help you frame your no questions. These phrases are your secret weapons, so pay attention. 1. Would you be against? This phrase is a gentle way of asking a question that invites a no response. For instance, instead of saying, would you like to meet me for a business discussion tomorrow? You could say, would you be against meeting me for a business discussion tomorrow? The difference is subtle but powerful. 2. Would it be impossible? This phrase is a bit stronger and is perfect for situations where you want to push a bit harder. For example, would it be impossible for you to extend the deadline by 2 days? This question subtly implies that you believe it's not impossible and encourages the other person to agree with you. 3. Would it be a big problem if? This phrase is perfect for situations where you want to propose something that you believe wouldn't be a big problem. For instance, would it be a big problem if we postponed our meeting until next week? Here again, the implied no answer puts the ball in the other person's court. 4. Would it be unreasonable? This phrase is a bit of a double whammy. It not only invites a no response, but also subtly implies that the other person would be unreasonable to disagree. For instance, would it be unreasonable to ask for a 5% discount? Now let's put these phrases into action with some real-world examples. Remember my story from earlier? Instead of asking, are you happy with how much you are earning at your current company? You could ask, would you be against exploring opportunities that could potentially increase your earnings? Notice how this question subtly shifts the focus from being content with the current situation to the potential for improvement. Similarly, instead of asking, would you like to have a meeting to discuss the possibility of changing companies? You could ask, would it be a big problem if we scheduled a quick meeting to discuss some exciting opportunities? Again, notice the shift from a direct request to a more subtle suggestion. Using these no-oriented questions, I was able to increase the success rate of his calls from 20% to a whopping 65%. That's more than triple the original rate, and all it took was a simple shift in the way he framed his questions. By being able to hire more top performers, this led to millions in revenue. But remember, like any technique, it's not black magic. It will not work 100% of the time. But I can guarantee that if you test it with 100 people, you will double, treble, and even quadruple the results. I know this because we have done the tests. It is tried and tested. The wrap-up. You have just wasted 10 minutes of your life if you don't apply the things that you are learning. I can tell you how effective it is until I am blue in the face, but you will never know until you do it for yourself. So I have a challenge for you. Let's give it a try. Who are you with now? Are you at work with colleagues, at home with family, or with friends? Try to persuade a colleague to do some work for you, as your partner to cook for you, or ask your friends to buy you a big black pint of Guinness. I think I'm getting thirsty here. All of our videos are designed to help you grow professionally based on techniques that you can use to improve your performance at work. As we grow as a channel, we can create more videos, but we need your support. If you are still watching, then I am sure you have found value. Would it be unreasonable to ask you to support the channel by clicking on subscribe, my friend? Now go and start getting people to say no.